All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Above and Beyond the Accessibility and Inclusion podcast live for Monday, May 29th, the first of five this week during National Accessibility Week. As always, joined by Maddie Dever. Maddie, how are you?
Well, all I'll say is that our topic today is very timely from my experience today and this weekend.
You know,
And what is our
you,
topic today? What
you
is
are
our
not
topic today?
wrong, friend. Let's talk about the fact that there was a lot of closures in Hamilton this weekend, and you made a visit to Hamilton this weekend.
I did.
And you got to experience a lot of the troubles that many people had when it comes to when parkways are closed. And when you take accessible transit and you advise of this ahead of time, which it was known ahead of time, and they don't prepare for it, yeah, a little bit of a problem. So yeah, our topic today is, you guessed it, communication.
No, it's not. It's not communication, but yes, communication is part of this. It's basically
I
today
know,
we're talking about all things accessibility from getting us from our door to the next door.
to the door that we need to be. And we need to
Yes,
do this with dignity and respect. And
yes.
we need
I yeah.
allies.
No, we need transporter devices or portals.
We'll
That's what we need.
we'll
That's
go
next.
back to the
That's next
days.
year's accessibility. Yeah, that's next year's
We'll,
accessibility week is
we'll go back
on
to the
the
days of the Jetsons and get teleported that way.
exactly.
Yeah, got to do what you got to do. So yeah, as we were talking, getting set for the live today, as we said, 5-ish. So we are at the ish point of it. Tell us about the transit faux pas on your end, and
Okay,
I'll go ahead.
so this weekend I traveled to Toronto and the GTA. For the main reason was to go to a Crowded House concert. It's my favorite band. I've loved them since I was 9 years old. 38 years in the waiting, and I finally got to see them. It was an awesome experience. But being in Toronto and getting around doing things in Toronto was good. I do find the downtown core to be mostly accessible, and many of there's way more options in stores and restaurants and things for me to do and go in. The path is mostly great. Although I hit one snag on it today. The path is the underground thing that connects a lot of downtown Toronto. But okay, so I have experienced this weekend five different transit companies along my way. Ottawa, the Via Trail, Via Rail. I've experienced Go. I've experienced Oakville's where we were staying. So I experienced Oakville's buses, and then Hamilton's buses. So getting on the buses is not the problem. Figuring out where the buses go is the problem. Figuring out how to navigate signs that just don't make any sense whatsoever. And especially if you're not from the town, I find there's two issues that I've experienced. One is the communication of where things are, and where, especially where accessible options are, like elevators. So the signage and communication is really abysmal. But the other issue then is, again, the buses, not so much of a problem. I can get on them, I can get seated, that was pretty good and they were comfortable and whatnot. The GO train system is just it's a heaping pile of stuff you find on the way after you walk a dog.
Ha,
I've never every time I've come to Toronto and I've ventured through the GO system, I end up being dropped off at a stop that has no elevator, and which means I have to then get on the next train and go backtrack and find out there's no audio, uh, there's no way on the system on the train once you're on it to know which stops may have elevators or don't, which are under construction for like the next n years, and it's I hit this so many times to the point where it actually caused us to miss connections, miss trains.
Maddie, can you speak
Yeah,
up a little bit? I can
it's
hardly
just
hear you, friend.
yeah. See, here's the other issue. Okay, I'm here today at a Tim Hortons in Barhaven, in the middle of, well, it's not the middle of nowhere, it's just the edge of nowhere. Because I was ending up on a train today because they couldn't fit my wheelchair on a train yesterday, and I got stuck, and they had to put me over. So my day's all messed up. I'm supposed to be at home, in my nice chair, having a nice chat about the weather with Anthony, but today I'm ranting, and there's nothing like I. It was such a complete number of failures on streets, failures on street corners, failures of lights, failures of signs, as well as failures, you know, on trains. That like it's yeah, I just I'm overwhelmed, but I'm sitting at a Tim on using my phone data so that we can do this little job. But here we are.
Yeah, so transportation. And like I said, not only this weekend, and you talk about the GO train, Maddie. You talk about the fact that, there's no signage, no wayfinding areas and so on and so forth. But what about a contingency plan? Like you don't know about these things in advance.
Yeah.
I know Toronto has a 311 system, and I know we've had conversations with the construction zone individuals, and I'm grateful for them to have us there, and they really feel
Mhm.
strong enough to to utilize us and listen to us and hear us, which I'm grateful for that. But yeah, transportation, man, it lends itself to isolating people with disabilities, and
Yeah.
kudos to you for venturing out this weekend. I mean, like, it's hard. Like, even Friday, I had to go to Mississauga for something I just can't say at this point, but I will say it down the road. Um, but yeah, I mean, I took an accessible cab because uh, I needed to get from point A to point B directly. I couldn't go stop to stop to
Yeah.
stop to stop. And you know what? That's just tiring for someone like
Yeah.
you, for someone like myself. It gets overwhelming. It gets exhausting. And it just
Yeah.
there needs to be more seamless transitions to from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But
There's
I mean,
got to be a way of communicating. Like it's like here, I'm from out of town, so I don't know the system. How am I supposed to like? Do people in the town know all of these things about what works, what doesn't work? I mean, I can't imagine that anybody can totally understand the system as it is, but it's certainly like I looked on websites. I tried to prepare myself as much as possible. And again, in Toronto was fine. Like I didn't have any issues in the city of Toronto more than sidewalk curbs not where they really should be. It's like here's the lines, here's the curb. They don't meet, but at least at least there is a way of getting on and off safely because there's no snow. But yeah, it's like how does somebody that's not living there like like we okay? So this goes back to isolation. This goes back to inclusion. Like we are just because we're disabled doesn't
I
mean
can hardly
we
hear
should
you.
live
You're
in our
cutting out
house.
again, Mike.
Doesn't mean we should just stay in our community. You know,
You're cutting out, bud.
um, I know, I know. This is gonna be one of our funnest ones here. It
Yeah.
hopefully
Okay.
will get better tomorrow. Um, yeah, we talked about you talked about isolation and it's all really just part of social inclusion. We just because we're disabled doesn't mean that we should just stay in our house. It doesn't mean we should just stay in our community. We have as much right as anybody else to go out to the world and do things. Again, quality of life, stuff that we seem to, not think about when it comes to people with disabilities. Like
Right.
it shouldn't take a um, Well, it shouldn't take needing an able-bodied person to get us around and look for help when we get into trouble, which I kind of had to do a few times this
Mhm.
weekend because my nephew came up to he came with me on this extravaganza adventure, and usually I'm totally fine on my own, but this weekend there's just too many times that I needed help. It's for stupid micro barrier things.
Right. And I I don't get it, like Matt. Like I mean, we're in 2023 now. Like we talk about different types
Yeah.
of solutions to for transportation, and it gets from point A to point B, and then it comes off as if we're being arrogant and being demanding of something uh, beyond what's equitable
Oh, yeah. It's not special treatment we're looking for. It's just treatment.
treatment. Yeah, treatment of respect and equity,
Yeah.
and understanding that we need to get from point A to point B too, and we need that on-demand service. We need that ability to. Sorry, I got a little something here, and we need to be treated with respect. Like even my trip to Mississauga was direct, but you're paying an arm and a leg for it,
Yeah.
as opposed to going station to station and then having to manage your time, knowing you have a certain place to be at a certain time. I
Yeah.
mean, if there's flexibility, that may be a little bit more feasible and doable, but there's just sometimes they're not. And
Mhm.
not to mention, we did have our lake closure, which is a big part of the city here, and that screwed a lot of things up for everybody. But certain organizations that I use quite often should know this at least on Saturday and Sunday to be more prepared. I mean, they did get an email from a certain somebody uh, that's doing this live today, stating to be prepared, be proactive, and nothing was done.
Yeah.
I left the Cat game at 8 o'clock was my scheduled time, and they didn't get me till 9, closer to 9. And then I had an event to be at, but I just couldn't go because of uh, the fact that they were running late. I just didn't want to chance
Mhm.
it with an event that I had the following day, and
Yeah.
that's where when hashtag Maddie comes to Hamilton comes in.
Yeah. It was really good to. It was originally I was going to be coming home to Ottawa in the afternoon yesterday, and I realized that the thing I was like going to be doing in the evening wasn't going to happen. It's like, why don't I just stay later and just like take a trip to Hamilton, see if I can bump into anybody. And lo and
Yeah,
behold, Anthony was going to be at an event, so I got to meet up there, and that was cool. And so you can talk a little bit about the organization and what you were doing there. But
yeah,
one of the really neatest things that happened while I was there, we ended up playing an accessible version of bocce ball, and this is the first time since my surgery, since a car accident, that I've been able to do any sort of physical game. Like board games is one thing, but I haven't been able to figure out, is there anything I can do? Because I used to be very active and I used to play a lot of things, and I have crossbody disabilities.
in your
Oh,
head, Matt.
it's not like I have like one side that totally works. I got one hand where I got four fingers that work, and I got one leg where sort of it works. It's like I can participate in more than just like I can participate. That's what I was feeling. I was able to have a little bit of my pre-accident life back by doing something. So talk about the organization and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Kyle Scott, who's a local here, is also an author. Plays bocce at the Paralympic level. Yeah, we got to play bocce together. It's you guys won. Team Red won,
Yeah.
so kudos to you guys.
Yes. Yeah. The
Uh,
last end was good. Yes. It
yeah.
all is well that ends well. We ended well.
Ha. Okay. Yeah, so we were at the Hamilton Challenger Baseball Association's opening day, which aligned well with the actual day one of international, or sorry,
Mhm.
National Accessibility Week. And so yeah, we just kind of going there. We had some grub. I was there with the Ron Joyce Children's Health Center cheer squad. Got to perform
Mhm.
again for the masses that were there, and you really got to see disability inclusion at its finest
Yeah,
because that is something that for me is so important, and it
yeah,
does get overlooked and overshadowed, and the perception is not always the reality
mhm.
of it. So we were there. I mean, I
Yeah,
thought I thought I was coming out of retirement. I brought a baseball glove with me. I was ready to play. I
yeah,
was ready to Pigpen was coming out of retirement for one day, signing the 1 day contract. I was ready to go. But the cheer squad we did our thing, uh, and it was exciting. It was just good to be back
yeah.
amongst the masses and the groups. And yeah, it was a fun day. Transportation was late picking me up again. Shocking. But yeah, all in all, it was a
Yeah, it's
really,
almost
really busy
like
weekend.
we budgeted that in. Yeah.
Yep.
What was interesting was there was a wide eclectic and a variety of people with so many times we see organizations for one disability organizations for one disability and they do stuff, and then there's another disability organization that has other people with disabilities and they do their own things, and there's so much division and repetition, and it was really nice to see something that was like that reached out to a large swath of people, and it was just disabilities, um, it was interesting, and it's something that I definitely back in my own area. I want to see what exists. Like it's sort of opened my eyes. I don't have the ability or the time to start something like this in my area, so I'm hoping I can just find something or encourage organizations that may be doing things in separate sort of silos to think, hey, why don't you think bigger and
Hmm.
work together? Because my goodness, it was a really eye-opening experience. Having been somebody who's been a parent of kids with disabilities for 20 some years now, as well as a person with disabilities myself. Like I've been to lots of things for our kids, but it's been so autism specific, and I don't know. It was really good.
It was a lot of fun, and just to see the fun out there, and just to reconnect
Yeah.
with just people with disabilities in the community, because
Mhm.
I used to play baseball back in the day. Like, I mean, they called me Pigpen.
Me too.
I used to leave the wheelchair, dive into the base. I used to do unorthodox things to play the game, and my name of Pigpen is still synonymous today. And so, yeah, it was nice to be back. I mean, like I said, I got the glove, I was ready to go, but
Yeah.
it was just a barbecue, fun opening day event at the arena, which was very cool. Met a
Yeah.
bunch of people, so I enjoyed the bocce. I gotta say, shout out to my buddy again, Kyle Scott. Because
Yeah.
he's a
That was good.
Paralympian when it comes to this, and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna look into that further.
Yeah, same here. It's out of all of the things that were there, that was one thing. It's like, hey, this is something that doesn't, you know, doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of people to do. It just takes, buying things and having a few people over and having a space to do it. And I know seniors groups tend to have things like this, but
Yeah.
I really want to start inquiring because I honestly, personally, I need things. I do a lot online, and that's
Mhm.
great. That's awesome,
But you
But the
feel like
thing
you're
that I am
isolated because you're
missing
not with
out
people.
on is, yeah, I'm missing the in-person social
Engagement.
inclusion, right? It's
Right.
really there's so few places that I can physically get to, so I feel very isolated. again, I move around town, and all of the there's a lot of people that know me. A lot of people can see me. There's a few places I can go into, but in terms of participating in something, all the things that are participatory in my area that I know of are either able-bodied or for seniors, and they're like that mix of people with disabilities. It's the ones that gets like unless again you're part of an organization that's for that particular disability. It's not something we see out here anyways. A lot of just general people with disabilities stuff. So yeah, again, I'm stating this here. I'm not going to organize something and do it myself. I'm not at this time. So hold me to this, please. I want to look back a year or two and know that I still am not jumping in to start yet a new thing.
Well, I
But
mean,
if there's anything out there that I don't know about, let me know.
you talked about the seniors thing. You're getting close there, my friend. I mean, you can get that seniors discount sooner rather than later, friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if it's Freedom 55, we're talking about. I'm
Mm.
48. I'm turning 48 this year. Am I 48
I know.
already?
I'm just kidding, buddy. I'm just
Oh
kidding. I
crap!
just wanted to.
This is weird. I don't know my age. I'm pretty sure I'm 47, turning 48. But you know what? I don't know. I'm tired. It's been okay. So one of the issues, back to transportation. Now we can segue. Um, all of the fiascos that happened yesterday that ended up stranding me in Toronto, that unfortunately Via's accommodation was to put us up into a hotel, which was nice and give us some credit for some money for food. But it just exhausted me. Today, yeah, I'm taking the train. We're back, but I am just brutally exhausted from all of the transportation issues. Nothing else. It's just all of the delays, the cancellations, the not being able to find things, and then I think getting stuck in the train was like in the doors to get in. Oh yeah, I got each day the last 3 days. I've been hit by elevators at least 7 times. It's like there's no the timing for people is like this probably for the skinniest person to leave within a few seconds. If you take 2 or 3 people, no. So if you 3 people are getting out of an elevator and you are in a wheelchair getting in and nobody holds the thing for you, you're going to get banged by the door. If
Mhm.
you're in a wheelchair and you're trying to reverse back, but but the elevator is a little bit awkward anyways, you're going to get hit by an elevator door. And in the past, I have been wedged by doors in such a way that I cannot move and have to get help.
Yeah, it's like
So
you're in
that's
a.
just another.
you-
It's exhausting. It's been exhausting today. I'm just so tired.
It's like you're wedged into the door at a 45-degree angle, and your one tire is like the one way, and then your other tire wedges into the door, and
Yeah,
you just you're just
that was me on the
begging for
train.
help
That was
at
me
that
on
point.
the train.
No, I hear you, buddy, and yeah, you know what? I think
We need folks. We need allies like our like the City of Toronto folks that we've been working with
yeah,
to try to replicate what they're doing and into other municipalities and other systems.
yeah, we're lived
Uh,
experience members.
because we're seeing that when we're invited. Lived experience is invited to the table. Things are designed in a different way that'll actually work for us, not
Yeah, and when
and
we're
not
involved in the
just
process,
it'll actually work,
it's so much of
and
a
it can be
time
tweaked
saver,
because we're there.
right? And when we're involved in the process, I mean, like it's just it's cheaper.
Yeah,
It's truly yeah. I mean, yeah, Roger did follow up with us. I don't know if you saw the email yet.
yeah. I saw the email. I figured we'd deal with it after the week. Well, I figured we would deal with it today, but I didn't realize we'd be on the train all day today. There's so much I got to catch up
Yeah,
on.
fair enough, fair enough. Yeah,
But yeah,
we just
yeah.
need transit
And
to
so
improve. We need
yeah,
transit to adhere to people's disabilities.
yeah. Send this link to anybody that's managing the Go system or any of the transit systems in the GTA because um, there it's one of the things that I when I got lost at one GO station trying to find the dang elevator, which was in a building away from all of the other buildings in the bus circle, which wasn't a GO thing, so without any markings on it until you actually got in front of the door there. When I
Yeah,
finally spoke to somebody there, they had one staff that was sort of directing things, and they already had trains that were not working, and everything was late. She said, "Well, why did you look to find me?" I said, "I couldn't. I but I had a bunch of people." And she said, "You know what? Like, please tell everybody to call when they have these issues. Call, call, call.
yeah, and it's almost as if we're
Because
being
they don't listen.
uh,
They don't listen to
Maddie, you're cutting out big
us.
time, friend.
They don't listen to the staff. They don't listen to us on the field saying, here are these problems." And one of the things immensely with at least no, I stopped talking because are we having issues?
A little bit.
Okay, or you just can't hear me?
When do we
So,
get listened to? When it's too late?
yeah, yeah,
Like when there's a casualty, unfortunately, when there's a fatality, is that
yeah,
when people get listened to? I
yeah,
enough is enough. Like I mean, we have the lived experience, and I think we are trending positively to lived experience being uh, a course of action that's starting to matter. So that's really exciting for sure.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
Maddie.
one of the things that
Let's.
can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah.
You can hear me. One of the things that I brought to them, and I've talked to every single person around that's been in the stations and whatnot, is have a blue line or blue dots that lead to accessible features. A line that leads to washrooms, a line that leads to elevators. So there's some visual representation of where we need to go. Because it's and common science, there's so many different uses of the blue that it's really hard to see. And make all of the accessible buttons
Hmm.
blue. Then we can find them. Not have to look around corners. Oh, look at there. There's a button around the corner.
Yeah, I think and the contrast to the buttons, especially on elevators, really the buttons blend itself into the mounting piece that they're in. Where's the contrast between
Yeah.
the mounting piece and the
Yeah.
button? It's things like that can
Yeah.
be problematic for some people. Looking at
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I remember talking about these things like 10 years ago, like 15 years ago when I was first in the wheelchair for half a year. And we've improved somewhat, but in other ways we haven't. Today, getting into this importance here, the accessible spaces are not right beside where the door is. So the little ramp to get up onto the sidewalk is not where the first. There's still two parking spaces, before the door. Somebody parked with their full front of their car over the sidewalk, and I couldn't get in. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get past it to get to the door. And I spent 5 minutes circling around the rest of them trying to find a way to get their attention, to get the person who had parked there to move their things so I could simply get into the building.
and how'd
It's
that work
not. It's
out?
not. Oh, eventually they did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
What's that?
Eventually, I was able to get their attention, and
Okay.
they got to move the car. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now.
And were they extremely apologetic?
No, they were confused and sort of like, well, what, huh? It's like, oh, I will. I have pictures. I'll be. There's so many things I'm going to be writing about this
Hmm.
weekend.
But how do we stop that from happening though, Matt?
Yeah,
Like it's one thing
education.
to talk about it.
There need we need we need funding for a an awareness campaign that educates people on some of the biggest accessibility challenges that they cause, that people out in the
Yeah,
world
and
create more barriers. It's like the government buildings and stuff like that, the minimum standards and all that crap we talk about every Monday. That needs to be there too. But there's some things that people can do to simply shift what they do that will
exactly,
get
be an
rid of some of
ally.
these micro
You
barriers
know,
that we have.
absolutely, and
Well,
that's
it's actually
part of being an
like
ally.
the first thing is first the first step is just not be a barrier, then be an ally,
Mhm.
then be a champion.
Exactly. I think we need more
Sorry, it's been
allies
a long day.
to
I'm
really help cultivate the change. Maddie, let's cut this live off right
yeah,
here. I'm having
I agree.
a hard time following you and understanding and seeing what's
Horrible
going
time trying
on.
to hear me.
I apologize. Yeah, the Wi-Fi isn't great over there at Tim Hortons, and that's another thing. We need technology available, but we're talking about that later in the week. So, Maddie, what's the topic for tomorrow?
Mhm. Well, look at what I got.
Well, see, we're talking built environment tomorrow. How was that for a little segue into what we're talking about tomorrow? So,
Exactly.
yeah, back
Today
tomorrow,
we're
5
today,
p.m.
yeah. Today we're struggling to get to the door. Tomorrow we'll struggle while we're in.
Absolutely getting in the door. So, Nadia will tell us about the accessibility at that's important and more. And we'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, we're here every Monday typically, but again, we are celebrating National Accessibility Week. This is our Facebook schedule. Feel free to contact us at Matt J. Dever, at Anthony underscore Frazina, on Twitter, at autisticrainbow.com, at anthonyfrazina.ca, at Above Beyond for You, at Above and Beyond at Anthony Frazina. Email us. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. That's always appreciated. Let us know if there's anything you want us to cover. We're typically here every Monday. But again, celebrating National Accessibility Week, we will be here every day at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and discussing the topics. Tomorrow's topic is the door is not only the door that is open. We got to talk about the built environment. So we are back tomorrow. Maddie, enjoy that coffee and stay good. Stay good, my
Well,
friend. We'll talk soon.
excellent. Thank you.
Take care, bud.